All right, I'm not going to take roll call like I usually do because this is a webinar. And one thing for the Bureau Benefit Officers, you may stay on the line if you'd like, but there's nothing new here. This is the same training that we gave last fall. So we may do 2 sessions of this just because we're going to have so many people come on board and want to make sure that everyone is educated. So anyway, I'm going to begin. I am recording this partly because we have had problems with our recording feature, and I want to make sure that it's working. All right. Last summer, it was announced that certain employees on temporary appointments, employees on seasonal schedules, will be getting FEHB coverage in December. We notified everyone in January, as we're supposed to, and and these employees include employees on temporary appointments, employees on seasonal schedules who will be working a schedule of less than 6 months per year, and intermittent employees who are expected to work 130 hours per calendar month or more for at least 90 days. And these employees will be eligible to enroll in the FEHB plan. These newly eligible employees will receive the same government contribution as full-time permanent employees. And those temporary employees working for 12 consecutive months who are already eligible to enroll in the FEHB program and who are expected to work for 130 hours per month for at least 90 days will now be eligible to receive a full employer contribution toward the full premium. We had a total of 4 employees that fit that. So they're really, I was a little surprised to see that there really was not very many employees that fit that second category. Moving on. Michelle with USGS created these decision tables, and they're to identify the eligible employees. So I'm sure you know how to read a decision table. It's if, on initial appointment, and expected to work 90 days. And that's the key, and we're going to talk about it a little later, is the expected. It's not, we've had quite a few HR specialists want to figure out how many employees and figure out the hours and things like that, and you definitely need to look at the schedule, but you also, in some cases, need to talk to the supervisors to suss out whether that employee is expected to work at least 90 days. If the employee is not expected to work 90 days, then they're not eligible. And while they're on the current employment, the expected number of days changes. So let's say an employee was brought on and they were working 60 days, and then the supervisor changed and added another 30 days onto that. And if it's the same appointment, then you should offer that employee FEHB prospectively. Not so moving forward, and this is with the pathways. We have quite a few pathways employees that are now eligible for FEHB that weren't eligible before. And it's basically the same. It's the same rules. It is the same rules. And these are pathways, the career interns, and the interns not to exceed. So there's also the hour. If an employee is expected to be in pay status in 130 hours per month and expected to work at least 90 days, they're eligible. Not expected, not eligible. the days change, eligible. And the intermittent is the one where it gets tricky, and that's especially where you get, you have to look expected. You need to look at the hours that the employee is, the work schedule, obviously, that oftentimes you need to talk to the supervisor, and these are the ones that we can't always identify using a PPS. You can identify who may be, and then look closer into their record to determine whether or not they're eligible for FEHB. So here are some questions. One of them is, what happens if a full-time employee is expected to work for fewer than 90 days if the employee actually works for 90 days or more? And employee is expected to work for fewer than 90 days. No offer of coverage works. If the expectation changes, that employee should be notified by the employment office and given an opportunity to enroll promptly, but no later than the 91st day of employment. FEHB coverage would be prospective, as it is in most circumstances, rather than retroactive to the first day of employment. And going back to this, retroactive FEHB coverage should be offered to employees who were expected, who for some reason did not receive notification right when they entered into an active pay status. Identifying the intermittent employees, and this is the part that is a little tricky. Your expectation of work is 90 days or more and 130 hours a month. Like I said before, like I said a few times, you may need to call the supervisor or field office, the local office, to determine if these employees are expected to work 90 days and 130 hours on average in a calendar month. And that prospective determination is an estimate of the hours that the employee will work, rather than an actual count of hours worked. If the employing agency determines that the individual is eligible, but that employee actually works fewer hours, coverage cannot be rescinded based on actual hours worked. And I'm guessing that there will be a few people like that. The additional benefits available to these employees. They're not eligible for everything, all the FEHB requirements, but they are eligible for flexible spending accounts. My RSA is actually up, so that is the one thing I haven't updated yet. The federal long-term care insurance program, and they're not eligible for FEDLI, and they're not eligible for FEDVIP. Any questions? All right. These have been sent. Here's the web addresses. But it's a lot easier to just tell you to do this rather than show you because it's not really conducive. I've thought about putting these screens into this. But anyway, there's 2 walkthroughs that we have up online. And they're both, one is to how to change employees from not eligible to pending. And you want to do that as soon as the employee hits that active status and you've notified them. Even before you notify them, just to make sure that they're in that pending. And then how to initially enroll the employees. Part-time employees. OTM is looking and reviewing their part-time employee, the Part-Time Employee Act, and we'll be asking for some changes for it. But the Part-Time Career Act allows agencies to prorate the government contribution for certain employees working between 16 and 30 hours a week. However, the Part-Time Career Act specifically excludes temporary and intermittent employees. As such, employee agencies are not authorized to pay a prorated premium for any temporary or intermittent employees. And like I said, OPM is reviewing the Part-Time Career Act. They have been for about 8 months. So hopefully this year we'll get some changes to that. And the timeline is, I thought I deleted that. Employers have 60 days to elect coverage, and that second sentence should be taken out. Employees need to be notified of their option to enroll when entering an active pay status. Most of you, I think almost all the offices have canned emails that they've been sending to their employees or letters that include the information and the instructions to enroll. So in review, and yeah, this is a pretty quick webinar, but in review, the word, remember the word expectation in the regulations, that's key. The other thing to remember is that the employee needs to be in an active pay status, and that the employees, newly eligible employees, will follow qualifying life events rules. And currently, and I think this is still the case, is that they cannot use Employee Express to enroll yet. Does anyone know if that's changed? I'll talk to IBC, and if I hear that it has changed, I'll let you know. And that you still need to do the manual enrollment. And unless there's been an agency error, the enrollments are prospective, not retroactive. And generally, all the same rules about break in service, continuity of coverage, the LWOP rules, leave without pay, and non-pay status would apply for these newly eligible employees. And these employees are eligible for TCC, and the TCC rules are the same. And we've provided resources for you to use to counsel your employees. And here's, I've also got a list, and I've shared, I believe most of you have this already, but it's a list of things that you can use. We created an FAQ for supervisors and employees that has a lot of the basic questions that answered. A lot of you, I think, have already seen that and gone through it. There's fast facts about the benefits administration letter, and yeah, just this should give you enough information to answer almost every question that we get. So, all right, this is a pretty quick webinar. Any questions?
Yeah, this is Cameron Delacourt with Reclamation HR in Salt Lake. Question for you. We've got someone this Sunday who she's been a temporary employee on a student appointment working full-time. And so back in December, we offered her insurance. This Sunday, she's converting to a permanent student appointment under the Pathways deal. Because she's not changing the amount she would be paying, her work schedule is not changing, is this considered a qualifying life event for her to now be given a new opportunity to enroll, or has she already had her opportunity?
Send me an email on this one, but I believe it is actually a new opportunity to enroll. Anyone else want to weigh in? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, but shoot me an email on this, and I'll make sure that I get the right answer.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, yeah, that question came up last year as well on conversions and things like that, where a person had already had the opportunity and were converting to a new position. And given that it wasn't changing any of their, the cost of their insurance, like he was saying, or their ability to pay, then they left it hanging, but they said they thought that it didn't fit any of the scenarios on the 2809.
Well, clear, there we go.
So that's not definitive, but that's where one of the reasoning lines went last year. So if someone signs up or has the opportunity to sign up as a 1039 employee and then converts to a career position, they turn down their choice. Then, however, things like their dental and vision options do become available when they became a career employee. And so that was kind of confusing the issue. Don't know if that answers the question, but the question came up before and there was never a definitive answer, I don't think, that came out.
Right, and in our case, I mean, they've been a temporary employee for a year, and they've just been on a student temporary appointment, now converting to the intern, not to exceed, the more permanent version. So, yeah.
Yeah, shoot me an email on this one, and we'll make sure I get the answer.
Thank you.
This is David from New Mexico. We have the same issue with employee who was on a temporary being converted to an intern student. Can we be CC'd on that email as well?
Yeah, I'll make sure that the group gets it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you, everyone. And if you want a copy of the webinar, just of the slideshow, shoot me an email, and have a great rest of the day.
What was your email?
You don't have my email? Joy, J-O-Y, _ Buehler, B-U-H-L-E-R, at ios.doi.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.